involvement in Syria's civil war. This is the picture. You're not be able to see it from there. You might be able to see it on the screen, but this is the picture of Tyrone Woods given to me by his father, Charles Woods, a Navy SEAL. The Woods family deserve answers. He was killed in Benghazi. America deserves answers before we send another man or woman the caliber of Ty Woods into harm's way, especially in another country's civil war, especially when there's no clear indication that there's an imminent threat to the United States. I don't question that chemical weapons were used in Syria. I've looked at the classified briefings. I do ask that, if so, where are the other signatory countries of the Chemical Weapons Convention as the U.S. beats the drums of war against this regime in Syria? I have spoken to hundreds of constituents. This represents about 300 emails that my office has gotten, and not a one member in my district in South Carolina, or the emails of people that have contacted my office say, go to Syria and fight this regime. To a letter, they say, no, do not go into Syria. Don't get involved in their civil war. I spoke to 8th graders, about 150 8th graders yesterday. They get it. They get it that we shouldn't be drug into someone else's civil war where there are no good guys. There are no good guys to get behind here, and I can only envision an escalation of this current conflict. The same administration that was seemingly so quick to involve the U.S. in Syria now was reluctant to use the same resources at its disposal to attempt to rescue the 4 brave Americans that fought for their lives in Benghazi. Mr. Kerry, you have never been one that has advocated for anything other than caution when involving U.S. forces in past conflicts. The same is true for the President and the Vice President. Is the power of the executive branch so intoxicating that you would abandon past caution in favor of pulling the trigger on a military response so quickly? The reason that I say Benghazi is germane to our discussions on Syria is this. Secretary Kerry, have there been any efforts on the part of the United States, directly or indirectly, to provide weapons to the Syrian rebels, and that would also include facilitating the transfer of weapons from Libyan rebels to the Syrian rebels?
Have there been efforts to
put weapons in the hands of Syrian rebels and also transfer weapons from Libya to Syria?
Well, let me begin, Congressman, by challenging your proposition that I've never done anything except advocate caution because I volunteered to fight for my country, and that wasn't a cautious thing to do when I did it.
Mr. Secretary,
secondly, when I was in the Senate,
yes,
I'm going to finish, Congressman. I am going to finish. When I was in the United States Senate, I supported military action in any number of occasions, including Grenada, Panama. I can run a list of them. And I am not going to sit here and be told by you that I don't have a sense of what the judgment is with respect to this. We're talking about people being killed by gas, and you want to go talk about Benghazi and Fast and Furious.
Absolutely want to talk about Benghazi because 4 Americans lost their lives. I have sympathy for the people in Syria. And I do think there should be a worldwide response, but we should act cautiously before we act unilaterally.
We are acting cautiously. Yeah. We are acting so cautiously that the President of the United States was accused of not acting because he wanted to have sufficient evidence and he wanted to build the case properly.
It's been 15 days.
Congressman,
we go now
Congressman,
to
Mr. Chairman, point of privilege here. This is important. I think this is important. I think it is important whether or not we're going into Syria in a way that the Congressman describes, which I think most people in America don't want us to do. We don't want to do that. That's why the President has said no boots on the ground. This is not about getting into Syria's civil war. This is about enforcing the principle that people shouldn't be allowed to gas their citizens with impunity. And if we don't vote to do this, Assad will interpret from you that he's free to go and do this any day he wants to. That's what this is about, not getting involved in Syria's civil war. So let's draw the proper